right, we're live. Hello, internet. How are you? Got
Great.
Sh- got got Sean with me this week because Derek's gone again because now his baby is, I don't know, does it still count as a preemie baby if it's home now from the NICU?
I
Anyways,
I think so. I
yeah,
don't I don't think you can take that status away from it.
I was just joking. Of course it does.
Um,
Anyways, Derek has taken his child home, so now he has to do all the fatherly things with a newborn baby. So he's too busy to pod, which I don't know. I want to give him shit for, but I can't really because that's going to be me in March. So we'll see how it goes. Sean's good though. You know what you're doing. We can talk about Star Wars. I was like,
yeah.
as soon as you agreed to come on, I'm like, we got to talk about Andor.
I haven't watched Andor. I've been waiting. Dude, I can't
Waiting for
handle
what?
for all the episodes to come out. I cannot handle this slow trickle. It's such a regression. We had gone
That's
over the
true.
hill. Like we saw the beautiful view and the promised land of never having to deal with this whole one episode per week bullshit ever again.
Hmm.
And now it's all been drawn back. And so as a point of pride, protest, some
Yeah.
p word, I'm not feeling the watch episode week by week.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
waiting.
I get what you're saying, and it's a shame that they have to do it, but it kind of makes sense because it's like when stuff drops all at once, people just churn and burn, and then they just forget about it. So when you keep stuff going, it keeps active watcher viewership, and then you actually gain viewership as the series goes along. Whereas if it's all at once, if you don't catch everybody, they're just fucking gone until maybe the next season.
I don't know if I buy that. I feel like that's just a weak excuse for not having enough good content. If there
Yeah.
if there was like seven shows backed up that you were like completely dying to watch and they were all there, you would just cycle one after the other. Or maybe you would get creative and you'd be like, I will watch the first episode of each seven and then the second episode. And it would be
Yeah.
up to you. You would get to decide how to ingest all of that goodness instead.
Yeah. Disney Plus has really been screwing everybody over with because I think they've pretty much done all their shows like that. And Andor, spoiler alert, it's slow. So
Hmm.
you kind of have to you're making the right decision to binge it all because I've been watching it like week by week, except for the first three that all came out at once. But like now that I'm watching it week by week, it's just like it's almost like this weird like anthropological look at Star Wars. I don't want to talk about it too much because you haven't watched it, but it's like they keep going to a setting and then kind of exploring how the people live in that setting, like
Mhm,
this
mhm.
like civilization and stuff. And then they'll go somewhere else and they'll talk about that for a couple episodes. And then like yeah, so it's I can't spoil it. I was so looking
You
forward.
can't
I guess
spoil
I
it.
should have asked if you'd watched it. But are not all the episodes out then?
There's nine, I think. I looked at it yesterday. I was almost ready to get in. I just finished watching the Lord of the Rings thing.
Oh, that was good.
It was crazy good, but again, I waited until it was all there because I think I burned it in a day. Like it was
Yeah.
just such intense action and cliffhangers at the end of every episode. I think that like that's the part that I've got no patience anymore for the cliffhanger. I'm just
Yeah,
like
and
stop. I just want the answer. All right,
yeah, and the ending was kind of annoying. How it was they were like building up to stuff and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just going to go
mm,
set up for the next thing." Like it's
mhm,
like instead of like giving you completion, they're like, "Oh, hey, more table setting. You want to come back
mhm.
next season?" But yeah, I dug that. Like we could talk about that actually because now that it's done and there's so many people who hated it, some people for racist reasons because they're idiots, and it's weird because it's like the super ignorant people hated it because there's like black elves and um I think what was the main dwarf's wife? Was she like Indian?
She was, I would say she was black as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was like racially ambiguous. But anyways, like just the fact that not everybody was white, like the dwarves and the elves and stuff,
Mhm.
everybody got upset about. And then you have the other side of the spectrum, which is all the turbo Tolkien nerds who were upset because it was like it's like off canon, or they made it up themselves because they can't get the rights to the Similarian. What's that called?
I think that was as close as we're gonna get.
You know what?
I
You're
went
just
to
gonna leave me
seminarian,
out
but
there?
that's not it. Similar. I don't know.
I want to
I
say the
didn't
Similarian.
realize. I knew that they were taking liberties with the story, and I just thought that was because they have 5 seasons. They have to make
Oh, they're
enough.
doing 5 seasons?
Apparently,
Oh,
that's
that's
how
good.
much is like planned. Because I think that I don't know. I think it's expensive as hell for Amazon.
Yeah, it's apparently the
Um,
most expensive show ever made. So I
really?
was worried that we weren't going to get a season two because they'd be like, it's the most expensive shit we've ever made, and there's people who are butthurt, so
Yeah.
we're not going to make it. Like that's the absolute worst thing is when they don't continue making it.
What
Like,
is the uh what's this Tolkien story? Um, there's like a group of I don't know ultra right wing people who think that it's almost like biblical canon. You know, like they
oh yeah,
yeah,
well,
what's that all about? Because I was getting like a short introduction to that when Linz and I were in the UK and Liz
mhm.
Truss had just become prime minister. Is they were like, yeah, Liz Truss believes in the Lord of the Rings like it's a religious doctrine, but I
Well, I
couldn't quite grasp it.
I haven't heard this theory, but I could suppose that if you're going to think about it, maybe the elves are like the Jewish people in Egypt, like because you know how the elves had to go over to Middle Earth from wherever they
Right.
lived before, and they were like had to go there because of war and stuff to fight the bad guy with the eye. What was that guy's name? The main guy, the main bad guy.
Well, I had to fight Morgoth. I think was the
Okay,
name.
yeah. Oh yeah, they had to fight Morgoth or whatever. So maybe them going to Middle Earth and being there was, I don't know, was like I'm grasping at straws here, but
Well,
maybe they were
I
like,
think I think it was more about like the books, right? Like this is a movie
yeah.
that's been around for a while. The little tiny bit that I know, and I really hope that the listener has more context to give us here, but it's something along the lines of like the white people like is racially motivated. It's like the good,
Oh,
all the good in the world is these pure white uh individuals who are fighting against the dark forces, and it's like an allegory for you know
who would the
certain type
all
of
white
pure
people in the
people.
Bible be, like the Christians?
Oh no, I don't. I was when I was comparing it to the Bible, I just mean that they treat it like it's a religious text as opposed to
Oh, I thought you were
weird.
like looking for
No,
an
no.
analogous parallel like storytelling. So I was like trying to come up with it. But I get what you mean like it's like the Bible for white supremacists.
For this subgroup of far right. Yeah, that's all I know, and I hope somebody else has more information.
Well, there
Anyway,
is something
I was expecting you to because you're the conspiracy theory guy. You're supposed to know this shit.
well, I haven't heard that, but it does sound a lot like something I'm looking into right now called the Bach saga, which I think Tolkien was to have taken um liberties with taking some of the story from. And Bach saga is basically like an alternative telling where it's everybody came from hell, like the humans all used to live on the earth before it was tilted and it was like tropical all the way around. And
Mhm.
then the leaders of the world, like the most advanced society was up in where Helsinki is. And when the earth tilted and the ice age started, Helsinki went south. And then there was like a warm current from South America, or South America, and it blew up into the Gulf of Finland and kind of did a figure eight swirl and kept Helsinki warm where everything else around it froze. And then since they were away, so they were blocked off from the rest of society, and they basically advanced and stuff. And then they lost all the pigment in their skin because they were up north and there was no sun and they're in the ice, so they lost all the melanin and stuff, and then they turned like super pale, but they kept advancing because they had never been frozen over like the rest of the world was. So basically the rest of the world's population started over, whereas these people stuck in Atlantis, or not Atlantis, in Helsinki, but they got Atlantis from Altlantis, which means all land ice, which means Atlantis. So,
Interesting.
and then Atlantis sunk when the ice age ended and all the glaciers melted and washed over. And, anyways, what they're saying was that the people in Atlantis, or Helsinki, when they were able to leave and the ice started melting, the super white people, the Aryans, whatever, they went and taught the rest of the world how to like live in a society with like farming and stuff, because since everybody had started over, they were all hunter gatherers. And this is where you get that the whole Aryan nations and stuff was like Atlantis and stuff. So that's one of the alternate things. So it could be some of that stuff.
This seems, well, like the part that I don't get here. How did they explain? Because you're talking about there was an ice age.
Hmm.
Maybe my history is off, but wasn't it like the last ice age before humans existed?
See, that's where you're wrong, Sean, because this happened 50 million years ago.
Right.
And
Okay.
since they were living in that little pocket for 50 million years, that's how they got so advanced to like drive rock vehicles through magnetism or whatever the fuck they say Atlantis did. But yeah, that would be my guess. And then
Why
like
aren't they? Why aren't they still that advanced?
well, because Atlantis sunk when the glaciers sunk, or when the glaciers thawed, they wiped out Atlantis by just like a tidal wave of melting water and stuff, and then they had to start over.
Gotcha. So in this scenario, Helsinki is today's locale of where Atlantis was previously.
Yes. One
Okay.
of the because there's Helsinki and then there's seven islands, and those made like the concentric circles, old running city of the world. So it'd be like the highest, most important people were in the middle, and then as the caste system went down and circles around it. But I'm actually going to be talking about this in more depth on the Dale show, so I don't want to
Oh, okay.
spoil it or whatever. But that
Gotcha.
was just something I heard. But then like the Nazis and stuff, they're what they're called like when they did Lebensform or whatever, and like the turn of the 19th century, they blamed all the Catholics and Christians and stuff for all the bad stuff that was happening in Germany. So they went back to their Norse beliefs and stuff. And they were also thinking that the Norse tales and stuff were the tales of the Aryans and stuff. So if you take the Norse tales, like with all those people, I could see how Tolkien would pull from that. Did I answer all your questions about this,
You
Sean?
you didn't.
Can you tell?
I'm
I
really
didn't.
glad. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you go seeking out these conspiracy theories because they are entertainment to you, as
Oh
opposed
my
to
God. They are like
wanting to actually.
crack cocaine.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when I heard that Altland East thing on the podcast I was listening to, when you were like maybe in between 19 and 22 and you're at a house party and then there's some girl who like says like blah blah blah, like she's wanting attention. She's like, I love blowjobs. And then she makes eye contact with you and you're like, whoa, that's what it felt like when I heard this for the first time. Cause I was just like, holy shit. It's just like that exciting. And it's
Fair.
like this box saga. It's like I've just got this big ball of red yarn just to attach all these little things that shouldn't be attached and just go nuts.
What's so nice about this though is that you go into these things, get this good entertainment, find
Yeah.
all these ways to connect them, everything. And what that says to me is that it means that these conspiracies can exist and people can interact with them in a positive way, as opposed
Yeah.
to typically I just hear about people getting into the conspiracy theory, starting believing that they're all legitimate and true, and somehow that
Mm,
they've got a mission coming from it. Next thing you know, they're like hitting Pelosi's husband in the head with a hammer.
yeah. Well, the crazy thing is, if you start looking for truth in these, then you're just going to be upset because they all go against each other and you don't know which one's true. The way I look at them is basically the exact way I look at Lord of the Rings. Like, it's a dope story.
Mhm.
Let's read about it. And Star Wars, like, you learn all the lore of Star Wars, you learn the characters and their backgrounds, and you're like, this is cool. And but like, if you were me were to talk about like Star Wars, and we get into the nuance of like the background of some characters and how they interact with other characters, nobody's going to happen to listen to us and be like, oh, they believe that's true.
Mhm.
Like, that's the same way I feel like conspiracy theories. So now I just call myself a conspiracy enthusiast because I don't want people to think it's a theory that I like, mostly because they're all true, so they're not theories anymore.
I
But it's
love it.
funny. Actually, I did step on a segue because you talked about the Pelosi thing,
Yeah.
and I didn't have it on the list of what to talk to you about because nobody really knows what's going on, and it's not like a thing. But it's like, the weird thing I heard about it was the guy hits old man Pelosi with a hammer, right? And you're like, that's fucking terrible, hitting an 80-year-old man with a hammer. But the weird thing is, the police were called on the Pelosi estates, whatever they're called, to do a welfare check, and they don't know who made the call because they did like the police did like a press conference or whatever, and they're talking about this. So they did a welfare check, and the police get there, and fucking Pelosi and this other guy both have hammers, and they're like yelling at each other or something. And then once the police get there to try to intervene, that's when the guy attacks Pelosi and hits him with a hammer. And then, like, that's all we know about it. And you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, so the story that I heard was different from that in a few different ways, which is
Yeah.
how this is delightfully now making me doubt whether or not the story I heard was true. But it was that Pelosi had called the police from the bathroom.
Oh, the guy?
Yeah, like Paul Pelosi had called the police from
Okay.
the. But then when the police arrived, apparently that there was one hammer, but they were fighting over it, and that's like with the moment when the police arrived, they
Oh,
were like fighting over this hammer,
yeah.
and the police were like, "Hey, stop! What are you doing?" Whatever they say,
Yeah.
and the dude like ripped the hammer away, like the attacker or whatever, ripped the hammer away, and then hit him like right then.
That makes a lot
Either way, it's crazy
more
that it
sense.
happens after they show up. Like you
Yeah.
kind of want to have a sense of like how quickly did all that happen, or
Yeah.
what was the police intervention process, right? Like it's not like the guy had a submachine gun. It's like it's a
Yeah.
hammer. Just get in
And
there.
it's like, the other thing too is like the fact that it was a hammer. If this guy showed up with a hammer, that's like a thing because there's been like a bunch of, remember there was that guy on there's a young man on a college campus and he was attacking people with a hammer, and the hammer is supposed to symbolize something from the movie Old Boy, which is kind of iconography that these people are latching onto, and that's why they're attacking with a hammer. It's not just like something they found in a shed. It's like an on purpose implement that they're using. But I mean, unless we figure out how to read brains.
Well, yeah. So the New York Times podcast was talking about this. I think I listened to it yesterday, and they were saying that the guy showed up. He had like stuff. He had like zip ties and ropes and a hammer and a backpack.
Hmm.
Intention that he told the police his intention was that he expected to find Nancy Pelosi. He
Yeah.
was going to tie her up, and he was going to ask her to confess to her lies, quote unquote,
Hmm.
whatever they are. And if she continued to lie, he was going to break her kneecaps with the hammer.
Oof.
And specifically, he didn't want to kill her because he wanted her to have to be wheeled in a wheelchair into Congress as a message to all the other lying Democrats of
God
what happened.
damn. That is some dark
This
shit.
guy's from BC, eh?
Sorry?
The guy's from BC. He's like
Oh yeah.
born in Powell River, I think.
Fucking Powell River. That place just like, there's something in the water there. They gotta like, it's like Flint water, but instead of making people sick, it just makes them crazy.
Yeah,
They
I
gotta
think
go fix it.
it was his stepmom or somebody was like interviewed the very first day when, or second day or whatever, when we found out he was from there. And she was like, yeah, he's really into a lot of these, really got deep into all these conspiracy theories and blah, blah, blah. She's like, what? I mean, who isn't? They're all pretty true and blah, blah, blah. And was like basically saying that their whole family is into all this conspiracy stuff,
Yeah.
even though they haven't talked to this guy for 20 minutes. I was like, that's sad.
I
I
know
mean,
what's
being a conspiracy enthusiast, now
yeah.
that I can get behind.
Like, see, now that I'm a conspiracy enthusiast, I'm like, I just want to pull them aside and be like, so what were these questions? Like, is this like actual batshit crazy shit about how the Dems handled COVID and all the right wing people hate that? Or is this about her and her husband doing all that insider trading they did to get super rich? Like, which one is he upset about most?
I think, yeah, I got the sense that it was going to be more like, you know, how is she involved in trafficking children from the basement of a pizza joint?
Yeah.
Kind of questions. So, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Well,
Who knows?
being a conspiracy enthusiast, I don't want to pile on to Nancy Pelosi, but she's been around like a lot of powerful people, and like this is a real shitty thing to say, but she's been super hot for a long time. So if she could manipulate powerful men and know secrets, it would be interesting to find out kind of like if she ever did like honeypot shit to some dudes and like kind of manipulated them to do things that she wanted to do type of deal. Because she's 80 right now. So she was 20, 60 years ago. So in like 1960, she
I
was
think
20.
you're probably like 2 or 3 more sentences away from getting some sort of a censor to pick this up and ban it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the fear. I mean, maybe not now that Elon's gonna liberate us all with his super free
Oh my
speech
god,
on Twitter.
he's terrifying, man.
Are you a Twitter guy?
I am not.
Okay.
I have a Twitter account
Yeah.
apparently. One
Okay.
night while out drinking, this has got to be, I don't know, 2013, 14, sometime way back in then.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I think you were there. Derek was there, and a bunch of sort of random Twitter acquaintances of your group of circle, and everybody was trying to convince me to join Twitter, and I was like, I'm not really into social media, blah blah blah. And then
Yeah.
by the end of the night, I basically woke up the next day and learned that I had a Twitter account. So I don't know. If that's
Oh, so you're
so
saying it got
I
set
think I
up when
probably
you're
have like two or
blackout
three.
drunk?
Yeah, yeah. I think I have probably 2 or 3 tweets on there that are all from one single night.
Oh, so
But
you're
I don't know what
saying
the name of it is, and I don't know how to get into it. I just have sort of let it exist.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna see if I can search it by your name. I'm on the oh when I search John Burke, the last episodes of this come up.
This is actually,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this today. I was like, yeah, I'm breaking my only be on here once every 2 years cycle.
Yeah.
Um, when I eventually decide to finish my little sabbatical here and go back into the workforce, I feel like during the obligatory recruiters Google search of my name, the first things that are going to pop up is going to be Outrage Factory, Outrage Factory, Outrage Factory.
They're gonna be like, oh, and they're gonna make you do a podcast for whatever business you join. Because that's
Maybe. Or
every
they'll listen
business
to
is
the
gonna have
first
one.
little bit of this one and misunderstand what a conspiracy enthusiast is and be like, wait a second, this guy's talking about Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
And
But
then I'll
you being the voice of reason to like take me to task will look very good on your resume. They'll be like,
I hope so.
okay, this Dale guy, he was talking some crazy shit, but then you kind of came in and you're like, you can't talk about this stuff because
I see. I don't even have to say it. I don't even have to say it. I can just put out some vibes and make you think it.
that's
So it
true.
works well for me. But anyway, the point of the story is I'm terrified of social media. And if I had a Twitter account, I'd have to say I wouldn't want to have one in the new landscape of
Well, if you have a Twitter account and it's under your name, Sean Burke, or it's not under your name, Sean Burke, because there's only three and none of them are you. But
perfect.
Yeah, the thing I was asking if you were a Twitter guy because Elon Musk bought Twitter and everybody's freaking out because they're scared he's just gonna, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me why everybody's so upset. Like, I
I
think
could be
he's,
just for me, it's a consolidation of power issue. It's
yeah.
the right, like you've got the world's richest man who's already way too powerful for his own good. He's proven
Hmm.
to be really unpredictable and eccentric, and it's not really easy to pin down sort of where he. I don't even know if he has a particular spot on a moral compass or if he's actually just like bouncing all around,
It's
depending
wherever a
on
robot would be.
the day. And so that's what scares me about it is I just don't I really don't like the idea of that much power being consolidated in one human.
Yeah.
And I think he's already proven how he can, even before he bought Twitter, just by like sending out a tweet and then he'll send particular stocks crashing or rising or whatever. So I think he's proven that he's got the influence already.
Yeah.
If he actually owns the machine, then I think that influence becomes too great. That's all.
Yeah.
It's like
For me,
monopolies, right? Like
what
it's
you're talking about makes sense, but for me, that's not Twitter. For me, the scariest one that he has is Starlink, which is the like satellite internet that he has going around the world. And he just turned it off for Ukraine because there were like nobody was paying for it. But up and right from when the war started, he
Mhm.
had been giving them free internet via satellite via his Starlink. But now he's like, oh, nobody wants to pay for this. I'm going to pull it out or whatever, which as a businessman, it makes sense for him to do. But it's just like everybody's seeing this. And like right when he bought Twitter was kind of right when he turned it off. So everybody's worried about Twitter. So it's a nice bait and switch that he did. But
Mhm.
if we progress down this path into the future and we maybe get rid of wired internet so we don't have any ground internet and then we get rid of like the 5G towers and stuff because they're bad because they fucking send EMFs through the air and that's always bad for people and so we go to just satellite internet and he's already got all the
Wait,
infrastructure that he
is
owns.
that a real thing or is that a conspiracy?
What?
The
Oh,
5G.
the EMF thing. Well, people think 5G is going to be bad for them because it like controls them or whatever because they're idiots. But 5G is kind of bad because the frequency, because it works on microwaves. So it's the same technology that's in your microwave. And everybody knows you're not supposed to stand with your face against the microwave when you're cooking shit. But now that 5G's everywhere, that's basically what you're doing. And every time anybody says, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea, people are like, well, you're a crazy loon. So it's like, why are you
Like a bird?
gaslighting everybody who says it's bad just so that cell phone companies make money? But if you look at it, the way a microwave works is it sends a wave in this box and the wave vibrates and it
Mhm.
vibrates against the molecules in the food, the moisture molecules, and that it makes the wave going up and down makes those molecules vibrate. And then when they vibrate, they make heat from hitting the other molecules in the food. And that's how a microwave heats up food. It just vibrates the atoms and shit in the food. So we're just blasting the shit through the air. And one of the early concerns was that the frequency of these waves for our cell phones
One of the early
would
concerns
be
was
kind of heating up the moisture molecules in the air. And they kind of brought that up before they brought it out. And then they just never talked about it again. And then
hmm.
you also have you heard of these directed energy weapons? So right now, the
You were
US
taking me down a
military,
deep dive here.
okay,
Go,
this
go.
is this isn't conspiracy shit. This is
No,
real.
no, it's
So
interesting. I find it
um
really interesting, but it's everything.
yeah.
I find that when I have these conversations with you, I just get more terrified.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I started in the position where I was, terrified. Elon Musk is
Mhm.
taking over Twitter. This guy already
Yeah.
owns space. Um, Now I'm more terrified.
Yeah. So
Oh,
this directed energy weapon is basically they take like a big Humvee and on top of it is like a big like 6 foot by 6 foot like square satellite dishy looking thing.
mhm,
And what it is it shoots like, and it's not the same 5G rays, it's just 5G is the frequency and 5G stands for fifth generation.
Yeah.
So, but the fluctuation of the wave from top to bottom, that's like the hertz or something. So the how fast that goes on 5G is the same as these, like the frequency is the same as these 5G weapons. And what they do is they aim it at people, and like the top 64th of their skin gets really hot. So it feels like you're burning, but you're not. It's just like right above your skin feels super hot. So like it's a crowd dispersement method where they fucking blast you with this directed energy and you feel like you're on fire. So you fucking run away.
Interesting.
So the frequency of the ray that those shoot is the same as 5G.
I kind of like that though. As a that for me is like the brown note solution, right? With the
Yeah,
like
that's
whatever
exactly
message
what
you
it
poop, it's
is.
just like the same
Yeah.
same sort of delightful. That's crowd control I can get behind. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it's non-destructive if you're not talking about humans, but it's non-pain, or it does cause pain, but it doesn't cause damage.
yeah, yeah.
Like you won't get an actual physical
You won't
burn
die.
from it. It'll just feel like it.
You won't die. Um, cool.
Yeah. And so yeah, for me with Elon, this whole Twitter thing is just like, for me, I feel like it'd just make Twitter better because it would take some of the censorships out of it. And maybe it'll suck because it'll like let on some of the alt-right guys that they kicked off, but at the same time, so for me, the whole Elon thing is, what's he doing right now that we're not paying attention to because we're all paying attention to Twitter?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably true. To be like, so I have literally no context of Twitter. Basically, my what I get in terms of Twitter is a sensationalized feed of people that are pissed off. It's almost just like Outrage Factory,
Yeah.
where
Well,
it shows
actually,
up and
we come
use
here to show you what people are pissed off about,
correct,
except
correct.
for this week because we're talking about conspiracies and shit, but
Yeah,
whatever.
we just really went off the. Um, but yeah, because I don't have a whole lot of context about being a Twitter user, so I don't know whether that's going to be better or worse, or if there's
Yeah.
whatever what it feels like to live in the Twitterverse.
Hmm.
Um, I just look at like yeah, the amount of things and I just feel like there's a few too many of those. Not too few too many. There's a very small number of those individuals, these super Lex Luthor types,
Hmm.
uh, Bezos and him. Those two are the ones that scare me the most. But it's just having individuals with that extreme amount of control and power is scary.
Oh yeah, dude, did you hear
I
what
mean,
Bezos just got busted for? Sorry.
no, go.
No, did I step on the end of your point?
I
I
think
do
that
that
was the end of
sometimes.
my point.
Okay. Well,
I'm
you
just
brought up,
quivering in fear. That's all. Yeah.
yeah. So Elon for me is like, you know how in the States for politics, people are like Joe Biden isn't Trump and that makes him okay, even though he's bad, just not as bad. But you have me, and I see Elon Musk is okay because he's not Bezos.
Right.
So it's like the same thing because Bezos is the worst billionaire, I think, of all of them. And he just got fucking busted for keeping um his housing maids and shit in inhumane conditions, like making them like work overtime and in bad conditions and unfed and all this like terrible shit.
Isn't that just how he runs his business in general?
Yeah, and my joke was, what did he make them work at the fulfillment center?
Yeah, exactly. Were they a driver? They have to pee in a bottle.
Hmm.
Um, Interesting. Yeah, those two aren't great. Is Kanye West a billionaire?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
He
But wait, is it Yay or Yee? What am I supposed to call him now?
yay,
Yay.
because it was Kanye West
Yeah.
and um hold on, sorry. I'm just commenting because Derek's in the comments. And he said, you're a bad social media commentator because you're not on it. And I said, maybe he's really good because he's not socially invested or emotionally invested. But
Maybe.
Kanye West, like Kanye is like I think it's like two different words that mean this, like a name. So like Khan is like of yay, and yay is a reference to God or whatever. So he took it down to yay. So it's just instead of Kanye, it's yay. instead of ye or whatever. So it's just the second half of his name. It would be like,
Yeah, well, that part makes sense to me. I just today was the first time I encountered that, and it was actually
oh,
the article you sent referred to him as the artist Ye, formerly known as Kanye West.
mhm,
And I was like, I think Prince did this better. I
yeah,
forgot.
or
What
Madonna.
was
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, are you gonna ask me what's going on with Kanye West?
yeah.
That's a bag of worms. And actually,
Well,
we
I'm
talked
so
about it
excited
on
to
the
learn
Dale
about it.
show, but I'll go over it easily. I'll go over it
Well,
quickly because
wait. I'm not
yeah.
that informed. I do know that he was being anti-Semitic. We talked
Mhm.
a bit about, or maybe I was listening to you guys last week talking about DEF CON. That was you guys last week.
Oh yeah, that was us. Yeah, he
Um,
said I'm going Death Con 3.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
three. Um, okay, so I know that much about it, but
Mhm.
that's basically the heart of the story, right?
Yeah, the heart of the story is he said that, and then he went on a couple podcasts and fucking quadrupled down on all his bad shit. And then he also said that, and he still says, and even after he apologized for all the anti-Semitic stuff he said, he's still saying Planned Parenthood is like the Holocaust for Black people because so many of these abortions were killing Black babies,
Interesting.
which I don't think he understands how abortions work because you don't really force people to have them. But he was saying it was like they were like manipulated into having them. And he says it's all like population control by like, so he's like on this super like the Jewish people are trying to keep the population of the Black people down or something. I don't know because he's not clear enough in his explanation of things. He's just anti-Semitic, and he thinks Jewish people are out to get him vis-a-vis Black people, and or people like the secret cabal of whoever's in charge of everything of the states is out to keep the population of Black people down, which
Oh,
throughout
that
history
doesn't sound real.
he does have some reasons to be concerned in a situation like that. I get it, but that doesn't excuse everything else he said.
I
And
think
then,
probably not dropped out of college.
yeah.
Um, but okay, so you were sending me. Let's get into some of the meat because you actually sent me a lot of shit, and there was some really interesting stuff there.
Oh
But
yeah.
one of them you were basically just talking about the fact that he has lost a ton of partnerships.
Oh yeah, he got
Just
turbo
basically,
canceled.
yeah,
Like he not only got kicked off Twitter, but he's back. I think Elon let him back on Twitter. He not only got kicked off YouTube and all this stuff, but he's like Adidas has dropped him,
right.
and Adidas dropping him midway to October in the fourth quarter of the year alone by not selling Yeezy and not stocking Yeezy, they're going to lose $240 million just by breaking this partnership. So that means they're fucking like into it. I'm just going to pull up the list
That's amazing.
of because
Sorry,
that
Adidas is going to lose $240 million.
yeah, Adidas, like Kanye is going to lose a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Um, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull up that article because it has a list of actually, you
But
know
I think
what?
the thing though is like,
I have a list of because like I said, I talked about this. Sorry to cut you off, but I have a list of all the stuff I talked about on the Dale show still, and we're talking about Kanye. So I'll just quickly go over the list of stuff that he has dumped him, if you would like.
yes. Well, it's really about whether or not Derek would like as our sole active listener. Yeah.
Hey, Kate's listening too.
Hi, Kate.
So Kanye has bought Parlor now. He's the sole owner of Parlor.
Good for him.
So Elon Musk is not the only billionaire who went and bought a social media thing. Um,
True. I guess Kanye has a point though. There does seem to be a bit of a racial inequality in terms of
mhm.
who got the better
Yeah,
social
like
media here.
the problem is he's kind of right on some of the stuff he's saying, which is terrible. Not the Jewish stuff. I want to go out. He's not right on any of the Jewish shit, but he brings up like the Tuskegee incident, and he brought up how he thinks like Prince was actually murdered and not just died of an overdose of fentanyl. They say maybe somebody switched his prescription, and he says like obviously the Planned Parenthood thing, and then but yeah, so
So he just
uh
throws a whole bunch of conspiracy theories out.
Oh yeah, it's like a
Um,
can of worms.
okay.
So the film and television MRC studio dropped him because they were going to release a documentary on Kanye.
Mhm.
Yay. CAA, the creative arts agency, which was his representation, dropped him. Adidas dropped him. Gap dropped him. They had like a partnership where Gap had like Yeezy Gap had a thing and they closed down the website. TJ Maxx dropped him. They're not
I
going
think
to
the
put.
thing that surprised me the most about this list is I didn't realize that he was this big of a deal.
I know,
I thought
right?
we
Like,
already all decided he was crazy. Like he's been
yeah.
doing not he hasn't been in this like, now people are getting truly hurt crazy, but he's been doing stupid shit for a while.
Well, the thing was, he was crazy and he was doing bad shit things, but people were still buying his shit.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah. And then, like, when he said, because he went on this podcast called The Drink Champs, and he said, Adidas can't drop me. I could say whatever the fuck I want.
Right.
And, but like I said, they lost $240 million for the last 2 months of 2022.
Well, they kind of
But
have to call that bluff,
yeah,
right?
and the other reason they have to drop him is because the founder of Adidas was actually a Nazi. So they kind of have to be like, yo, we have to fucking get out of this
Yeah.
because we already have a very shaky history to begin with as a company.
Yeah.
And then
They've already done that damage control.
yeah. So Aaron Donald was a Los Angeles Rams defensive lineman. He was a sponsor of Donda Sports, which is one of Ye's
Mhm.
companies. Jalen Brown was a Celtics player. He got dropped, and then Balenciaga dropped him. But I don't know if Balenciaga and him were still doing stuff. Yeah, no, Balenciaga dropped him. And then one of the things that Kanye was talking about was he was saying Balenciaga was already starting to sever ties, but they were poaching the talent he had in his design houses or whatever. I don't know. That's a whole bunch of stuff.
That sounds delightful. Um, it's funny because we were talking. You won't remember this. You've done a lot of these episodes, but I've only done a couple, and so I
Mhm.
remember that we were talking quite a lot about cancel culture the first time we had a chat, and like the idea of how far it should go, how long it should last for, like at what point have you sort of, you know,
Oh yeah, like a road to
used?
redemption,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
And
just how prisons work. It's to redeem or it's to like rehabilitate you as
yeah,
the
that's
soul.
the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you're not allowed to vote ever again in many states, but
Mm.
you can't get employed because people do background checks and they are allowed to discriminate against people based on their criminal past. Anyway, all that doesn't matter. That's a totally different scenario. But in this context, I'm like, this dude is such a crazy, like, nightmare.
Yeah.
Good. Let's just cancel him.
Mhm.
Which
Like
proves I have no morals. I'm willing to cancel forever people that I do not like, and the people that get canceled that I do like need to
I
go.
mean, I hated Yeezys from the get-go. I always thought they were ugly shoes. They basically just look like socks with soles on them, which you think would be comfortable, but for not at that price. And
Mhm.
then I've never been a fan of his music because like the first album, he was telling people to
These
drop out of
songs
school
are
out of
heartless.
college. And I was like, bro, not everybody is like middle class. Some of us should go to college to better ourselves. And then yeah, and I just didn't all like and like that song N words in Paris was like my hell. It was just so
Mhm.
annoying and it was getting played everywhere and
Mhm.
everybody was white was like, this song's crazy. You hear what they're saying? And you're like, turn it off.
And then he married Kim Kardashian, and everything got
Yeah.
exciting. Better.
Imagine if he had
I just,
never married Kim Kardashian. He would have been gone so long ago anyway.
yeah, yeah. That's how I see it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Okay. Well, speaking about things that start with KI, should we talk about some kids? I think you had a few different scenarios where I felt like kids or minors, we'll say, were being unfairly
Oh yeah. Like
treated.
oh,
The
let's talk
mural.
about the what?
Go ahead. I was gonna
Oh,
say that
let's
mural. That mural really, that story really pissed me off.
okay, yeah, let's talk about this mural. I'll put a link in the comments. If you're listening to this on audio only, I will put this picture in the YouTube version. So just go check out the YouTube version about 45 minutes in. I'll put up the mural that this child had painted, and then a whole bunch of parents got super fucking butthurt and said it was all like, I don't know, that grooming and weird shit that they didn't want to see. And
Yeah, they said it was anti-Christian, that it was that there were like, yeah, hidden satanic messages, all sorts of delightful
mhm.
criticism. Um,
Well, I'm not sure if the person who made the article was LBGTQ, but there's a seemingly romantic embrace. Like there's these two girls with their arms interlocked, and they in like a couple situation, and they're both girls. I don't know. And then it has like a bunch of vaccine shit because it's called Stay Healthy. So I think a lot of right people were maybe anti-vaxxers or whatever are mad because it has them like giving vaccines. And then it has like people intermixed with personified animals and stuff. Like I don't get why these people are this butthurt about this mural. Like it would take me a while to like try to pick through the images and stuff. I just know it's ugly. Like artistically, it's not that well done, but it was done by a student.
yeah, it's done
So
by a high schooler. So I see. I didn't find it, but I had a it was almost like a Where's Waldo scenario, trying to find all the things they were angry at in this mural. Like they were not. It was not in your face. I guess that was the thing, that the thing, because you could look at it and you're like, yes,
oh
I totally agree that the clothing is, there's a trans flag, there's bisexual flag on two of their t-shirts, a rainbow outfit. Now I think all of that's delightful, and I'm
yeah.
sure that a lot of of the kids that are in this scenario, in this school, probably think that's delightful. But I can see how that would anger people, but it's not in your face. Like that was the
Yeah.
thing. I looked at it and I was like, what are they all angry about? And then I had to go through the article piece by piece, and each thing had to go and try and find it in the mural. And I
I
think, what
just found the Satan head.
did you see the little mask of
Yeah.
apparently it's a video game character, but hey, maybe it's a
Oh,
Satan.
okay.
Or there's a hand with an eye in it that's supposed to be a both a symbol of healing or a symbol of God.
It's God, I can't remember what that's from, but it's
It's
funny
from
that that's there because I was just talking to a guy at
Pan's
work
Labyrinth.
because he has it tattooed on the back of his hand. But if you everybody's seen this symbol in like hippie shops and stuff,
Mhm.
it's like three fingers and then the thumb goes out like that, and it's a thumb on the other side with an eye in the middle. And what it is it's a defense symbol against the evil eye. And I can't it's not Kabbalah, and I don't know if it's like an actual religious thing, but it's basically it's a spiritual symbol that's not Christianity, which people who complain about stuff like that kind of see that as default satanic because it's not pro Christianity.
Right.
And then there are a bunch of symbols in circles in this. Like there's one where there's like a circle over a triangle with a line through it. And I don't know what that is, but it could be a symbol of something. So like
Yeah, I don't know. I obviously I think it's a bit of an overreaction, but
mhm,
also I think what frustrated me was like how passionate these parents got about it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the approach was basically like tear this girl down, and like they had like a whole school board with parents and kids forum hearing. I don't know what they called it. But they like tore her to shreds to the point that she was, like left in tears.
Yeah, that's despicable.
Probably just, kill, because here she just had this life, probably one of the highlights of her short life, of like,
Mhm.
I've just won this contest to be able to create this mural. I get to express myself in this way that's supposed to be really positive. And if it doesn't sound as though she was intending to have any subversive, satanic, anti-Christian messaging. So
Yeah,
it's
like you
hard to have something interpreted that way. It's a really tough lesson in being an artist, I
mhm.
think, right there. Like,
Yeah, like you said, it was the thing I thought was a Satan mask. You're like, oh, it's just a thing from a game. So, like I said, the hand thing that everybody's seen that, and it's to guard you from the evil eye. She probably put all this in because it's stuff she'd like that she'd seen around. She wasn't like, I'm gonna be satanic and put this stuff in to like groom the kids or whatever everybody's
I feel
super
like,
afraid of.
yeah, that's get being honest, that's almost like giving her too much credit as an evil mastermind. Like, it would be
Yeah.
that's quite a lot of work to be able to hide all these things in such a
Hmm.
so but I guess my question is, um I'm not a parent. You're about to be a parent,
Hmm.
Derek. I I don't understand the nature of like protective parent, whatever it is, bear mom or like dad,
Tiger
whatever.
moms and helicopter moms.
I'm just talking about the parent who's like, I'm so concerned about the scenario because of my child. I want to make sure that my child isn't subjected to something that is threatening to them, whether, emotionally or physically or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't have that mindset and I've never had that experience. So I understand. But these parents that lose their fucking minds over this stuff,
Yeah.
how much of it truly has to do with their children and how much of it is just, this is their own political agendas. It's an opportunity to sort of wave the flag for their team,
Yeah.
and go to
Well, I
war.
think I think what it is I'm going to say something that a lot of people are going to hate. There are some things that these parents have umbrage with that is actually founded. Like for the longest time, every time they're complaining about all the books in the library. I'm like, whatever, it's just books. But then you go and look at what's in these books, and it's like libraries for like K to 7, so it's like
Mhm.
12-year-olds max. And there's like some of them have like graphic descriptions of oral sex and shit in them, and you're like, what the fuck? Why is that in the fucking elementary school library? And it was just kind of like a thing that kind of got through that not enough people checked. So there are incidences of, let's just say, malicious materials that these kids are exposed to, but then they found out that there was some actual stuff that they could get angry about, so they just kind of started getting blanket angry, way too angry about everything, because I think a lot of them feel like a lot of them are adopting this term groomer and stuff because they think that like these alternative lifestyles are trying to groom their children into be accepting of them, which they are, which they should, because children should be accepting
Uh,
of
I see what you're saying.
like same-sex marriage and shit. But a lot of these religious people don't want their kids to be exposed to same-sex religion and stuff, and or relationships and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's what they're getting into. And then there's sometimes like where the people on the other side will get into like antagonistic behavior, like the whole, have you heard about the drag queen story hour and like all ages drag shows and stuff? So
Mhm.
it's like
No.
so there's like these drag queens that want to go read books to 5-year-old like kindergarten and preschool kids, and it's like, okay, however you feel about that, there's a lot of parents that are super pissed off about it. So why would you insist on doing it? Like any rational person who takes a step back is like, yeah, you shouldn't get that pissed off that your kids are maybe exposed to drag queens because it's a lifestyle choice and people do it. But on the other hand, you're like, why are you insisting on having drag queens lead story hour to 5-year-olds? Like it shouldn't matter, but the fact that you're insisting on doing it to antagonize these people is still a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Especially if the intent is to, or basically if you're doing it with an idea. Anytime you're doing something where you're like, my method or my way of thinking here is correct, therefore I don't
Mhm.
give a shit about how anybody else perceives the scenario.
Yeah.
regardless of whatever the thing that you're doing is, I feel like that's the wrong approach to take. So if you're going into this drag queen story hour with an idea of like, I'm going to force my way in there because I want to
Hmm.
make sure that, this is a great thing for kids to have an exposure to, and fuck all the people who have any concerns or other ideas. I think if you go into it saying, like, there could be a couple of other scenarios you could say, hey, there's an opportunity for people to sort of have a more diverse experience at a younger
Yeah.
age. There's probably something to be said for that. And there's probably something to be said for normalizing or giving opportunity to people who have alternative lifestyles to be in the workforce represented. But I think it's different. I don't know. I want to be walking carefully here because I don't want to end up
I know. And this is a problem is we
wrong.
can't just be like, well, this is what should blue, 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 because it's such a touchy subject,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
both sides have been so malicious in their activity that it's like, no matter what you say about it, it's going to piss somebody off. So it's like you said, you're like walking on eggshells trying to think of the perfect way to say this.
yeah, totally. And just to comment on it, let
Yeah.
alone what's the right solution for it. But yeah, I mean, okay, so I think there's a difference between like a trans
Hmm.
individual leading story hour representing themselves
Yeah.
versus what a RuPaul style, like the pageantry of
Yeah.
drag queen or whatever, because that's sort of like I would understand the argument where somebody's like, I should be able to choose if my kid
Hmm.
consumes that form of lifestyle or entertainment. I think they're two different things.
Yeah. Like for me personally, even if a businessman in a three-piece suit was like, hey, I want to come read to your 5-year-old kids because I want to do businessman story hour, I'd be like, because you want to read to kids, you don't get to, because that's a big red flag to begin with.
Yeah, man. Who
Like,
wants to read the kids?
imagine if we had clown time story hour where some clowns are like, I think we should get these kids used to being clowns. Clowns have been like, since it came out and since John Wayne Gacy like wrecked the image of clowns, we got to make people okay with clowns. So they are like, we're going to have clown story hour. I'd be like, fuck no, clowns are creepy. I'm not trying to say, okay, that's bad, because I was trying to go for a joke, but that just makes me sound intolerant. But what I'm saying too is like, even if you're going to do these story times and try to get like young kids used to the idea of dysphoria and dealing with that and
Yeah.
maybe coming to terms with that, drag queens and trans people are two different things. So I
Not
don't,
necessarily,
well, that's
like, it might
true.
be the
Like,
same individual, but I think it's two different. Like,
hmm,
one is somebody being themselves, and one is an expression,
hmm,
a performance, and
yeah,
that could be me not fully understanding the whole situation, but that's how I see it. And so yeah, I can sort of see the argument on that one.
yeah,
But basically, I think what you've drawn out there, because my original question was like, is this truly parents looking out for their children? Like, is that the
hmm,
thing that they're afraid of what their children might experience, or is it an opportunity for them to drive in on sort of the other group that they're fighting against? But
yeah.
um, throughout that conversation, it sounds like we were talking about parents actually being concerned about the welfare of their children.
Yeah, and as long as as parent, like my parents didn't let me watch horror movies when I was like young, and I was more sheltered than I wanted to be.
Did
But
they let you watch 70s cartoons or puppet shows? Because they're so much more scary than horror movies. Dude, the Nutcracker Fantasy, I'm just gonna drop that in here.
okay,
It's like a stop motion puppet version of the Nutcracker. The first 5 minutes of it is like explaining how there's a little like shadow dude that comes around in the night, and if you're still awake, he eats you. And they
oh,
like show
what?
it, and then it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I watched it when I was 4. I had nightmares for that. Watched it as an adult, and I was like, these people are on drugs. It was so trippy and so scary. It's anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just going off on a tangent here, but
No, I get it. Like
my
it's
parents
weird.
also didn't want me to watch horror movies. Instead, they gave me
Yeah.
7
And it's weird
puppet
how you have
shows.
the Nutcracker fantasy like you're talking about. And it's like, did these adults who made this, were they just trying to scare kids? Because they scared a lot of fucking kids. That's like the Dark Crystal. I watched that when I was a kid, and that scared the fuck out of me. Like how there was like the Skeksis who would just eat the elven people, and then there was that part where they were like, or where they're like eating them and stuff, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? So it was
Mhm.
like scariest.
Yeah, man. Or like the second Wizard of Oz was also really scary. The lady taking her head off.
Oh, dude, Return to Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the chick from Feruza Balk, the chick from The Craft. Yeah, I love that movie as an adult, but yeah, when you're little, it's scary. Cause yeah, the chick takes off her head, or the Wheeler monkeys, and they're like screaming and chasing her, and then one falls into the desert and turns into
Mhm.
sand and crumbles. So scary.
It's not as scary in the book or cartoon form, but that movie was
Hmm.
terrifying. But so if actually this might be an interesting segue. So if all of those things from our childhood, we can pull up quite a few of these children's movies that are
Hmm.
freaking terrifying. What's sort of the equivalent in the last 5, 10 years? If I think through like Pixar and
Oh,
Frozen and all that, is there
there's this thing called Five Nights at Freddy's,
okay?
but I think that might be intentionally scary, but it's like these like zombie teddy bears and stuff. I don't know what it
Is
is,
that
but
a
it's creepy
Freddy Got
looking.
Fingered sequel?
Yeah,
Part of the same series?
no,
Worst,
it
the worst.
doesn't have that guy in
Um,
it.
okay, I can see why it's scary. It's 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm trying to get a sense of like, are kids regularly scared
Hmm.
in the media that they consume?
Um, yeah, I there has to be something that like, and then it's like I was talking about how with like the Nutcracker Fantasy, was it intentionally scary or was it just an accident?
Yeah,
Like,
well, I don't think it was intended to be scary. Well, who knows? Maybe the little German, mind you, that reminded. It's funny because I was watching The Office again recently, and Dwight
hmm.
keeps going on about his like German or Old Dutch, fairy tales for children are all about, if you're bad, we'll cut your fingers off. And I was
Hmm.
thinking about that, and I was like, this German story that I remember from Nutcracker Fantasy about the guy coming around and eating you if you were still awake after the lights are supposed to be out. Um,
Oh yeah, the guy would
maybe
like
that
knock
landed
on the
differently
window.
in different places. Like maybe, you know what I mean? Like maybe that is a children's
Yeah.
story in other cultures, and it's not quite so terrifying.
Well, like Hansel and Gretel when they go into the forest and they get eat, the witch
Totally.
tries to fucking eat them and shit. It was
Yeah.
just like I think they were just like tales that
Yeah.
were set in a time that was fucking scary where people would actually steal kids and eat them in times of like depression and like mad poverty and stuff, or like
Yeah.
the Black Plague and stuff. I don't know why they would, but yeah, like, or how
Well,
scary wolves
either
were and stuff.
either way, you were having a tough life anyway, so might as well get started early.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we are not there anymore. You cannot
No.
scare children anymore.
No. Especially if you work at a daycare.
Hey.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So what I like to call day scare. There's this 5 daycare workers have been charged with child abuse for wearing a mask and scaring kids. And you're like, wait, what? Child abuse for like just giving kids a little scare near
Yeah.
Halloween? And it's like it's a bit more than that. Like did you watch the video?
Yeah, I did. I did. I watched the video again. Not a parent. Also, somebody who I don't generally, I don't
Mhm.
have a lot of interest in kids that are younger than 2. Um, so I'm probably the worst person to comment on this, but I was watching them and I'm like, okay, they are. It looks like they're getting off and running around and making these
Yeah.
scream, and it yes, it felt wrong watching what was going on, but at the same time, part of me was like, isn't this what kids do all the time anyway? Aren't they always just screaming about something?
I
Like,
think
could a
like
defense be like,
yeah.
I wasn't sure if they didn't like what I was doing because they were crying the whole time and the whole day anyway. No, definitely it was wrong what they were doing.
Yeah,
But it,
the funny thing is, it's like right when it starts, you like laugh because it's funny because they're just like giving someone a scare, whether they're kids or adults. When you're like, bah, and they're like, ah, it's like funny, but it goes to like you said, feeling wrong right away because they're like just in their face with like the ghost face killer from Scream, and they're like screaming in these kids' face, and these kids are like fucking terrified and they're reeling back. But then they kinda just don't let up, and they're just, like, still screaming in their
yes.
faces and being like, "We're gonna take you outside," and it's like, "Yo, what? Chill down." And the other weird part is they recorded this themselves and released it to social media, and you're like, "Okay, are you guys just sociopaths who don't know what's right and wrong? Were you, like, legitimately getting off on this? Like, did it make you joy, or were you just, like, hated these kids at this daycare you worked at?" Or it's, like, so fucking weird, but it's like
Well, that part doesn't make any sense to me. That's super surprising. I didn't realize. But
yeah.
I think the thing is, if they'd basically done it, and then let's say they scare the kid goes fucking crazy, he's so scared, and then they're like whip off the mask. I'm like, no, no, it's just me. Sorry, buddy. Blah blah blah. And there was the, you know, like let's bring it all back to
Mhm.
uh that might be, and maybe that's edited out of the video.
No, because what happened was they described it in the video where they, like, scared a kid and then picked him up and then took him out of the room,
I
and
see.
then they went to the next kid and scared him or her, I can't remember which one it was, and then they're like, "We're gonna take you outside like your friend unless you behave." So I don't know if it was like they got fed up with these kids just being shitty and were trying to scare
Yeah.
them so that they'd be quiet and listen to the daycare workers, or but it's like one of those things where it was, like, way over the line. And since they recorded this themselves and they're like, "There's nothing wrong with this. Let's put this on social media so people give us likes or whatever." It's like, what the
That
fuck
part is disturbing. Yeah.
else were they doing?
Yeah.
Because if they got
Yeah,
to
what are they
that
doing that
point
they're
and they
not
show you,
recording? What are they not recording?
yeah. Or like they're like, these kids are obviously terrified and they're like, "That's fine. We'll put it on social media." Like, what did they choose not to put up that they
Mhm.
have recorded? And then I'd imagine that maybe the courts who charged them with child abuse, and they were all immediately fired, and they're all charged with like child abuse and stuff. So I wonder if there's more stuff that they videotaped that they didn't release type of deal.
I felt when I read that it was like, felony child abuse
Yeah.
before whatever, that was the thought that I had. I was like, this is got to be like a tip of the iceberg thing where more things have come out. Not
Mhm.
that what I'm sort of playing devil's advocate a bit in this conversation because of what they did certainly seems disturbing and wrong. Like when you watch the video, you feel like shit. But when I watched it, I was like, is this child abuse? Like this seems pretty, like you would expect there would have to be more for it to be a felony. That's all.
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah,
assume
like I get what you're
there's more
saying.
in that.
And
Mind you,
me
I
and
assume if I was a parent of those children, I would have been like death penalty, all of them.
oh, if I was a parent of those children, I'd be in jail because I would have gone and just fucking given one of these women a straight right and been like, "You don't fucking fuck with my kid." And like
Yeah,
me and Andrea were talking about it because she was like, "What would you do if this happened?" I'd be like, "I'd go to jail," because like you see the video and you're like, "Okay, you could scare a kid." And then be like you said, lift up the mask, be like, "Ha ha ha, that's silly. We're playing a game." But when you're just like doing it to just torture a child, then it's just like, okay, you're fucked. You need
yeah,
to be stopped.
yeah. I don't know if you'd be able to do it, man. You might show up, you'd go to hit them, they'd put down the scream mask,
And then I'd run
you'd
away
get scared.
terrified. I'd be like, I get why these kids are scary. These women are
Oh,
nuts.
yeah.
But maybe that's the equivalent of the scary witch in the wood. Like they're teaching these kids not to trust daycare work. I don't know. I don't know what the lesson would be. But I saw like I had seen another video that was like totally unrelated, but it was I think it was in China, and they had like kids sitting in a circle, and someone came in wearing a mask and stuff and was like trying to give the kids candy, and if the kid took the candy, the person would pick them up and then just take them out of the room. Like they weren't like screaming in their face or anything. It was just like a lesson to not take candy from strangers. So it's
Right.
like they come in and the first kid's like, fuck yeah, I'll have some candy. And then they just like take them out. And then the next one, everybody's like, no. And they're all like scared of the person and like refuse to take candy. And like some of them didn't even look at him and stuff. So it's like in a situation like that, it's still almost borderline, but I get what they're trying to do and it's not malicious.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I
It
guess just
doesn't
like the
sound like it would
mural, it's just
necessarily work.
yeah, like the mural, this is all just like an intent thing. Like what
Yeah.
was your intention with it?
Yeah.
And these
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And I think the same thing just got me with the mural is like, or it's sort of that's not it at all. It's kind of the opposite. With the mural, I felt like the parents were outraged, not for their children. And then with
Mhm.
this daycare thing, I absolutely was like, these parents are outraged because their children are being subjected to really terrible. Really, they weren't even doing a good job of the imitation of the scream thing either. Like,
Yeah.
just they could if they were going to be shitty humans, they could do a better job of it. So it'd be more entertaining, if they were to try to scare me. But
Yeah. It's gonna take more than just the scream mask to scare
that's
this
it.
guy.
That's it. Anyway, I think it's enough
Um,
about children.
yeah. Sorry, what'd you say?
That's enough about children. Wait,
Yeah.
how you're having a child in March?
Yes.
Super excited.
March 22nd. Oh, the funny thing, you know how I'm like conspiracy guy?
Yeah.
There's a conspiracy thing about my kid's birthday or due date. So I was listening to this podcast I listen to all the time. Derek is so sick of hearing me listen to talk about listening to conspiracy podcasts, but it's called Occult Symbolism in Popular Culture. And this guy, like, he goes through and he breaks down all the like occult and Illuminati symbolism that's in like TV and music videos and stuff. And he was covering Stranger Things season 4. And he's going through and he's saying all the occult shit that's in there, which is a lot because it's a scary show and whatever. But have you seen it?
Stranger Things?
Yeah, season
Yeah,
4.
I think I watched the first. No, I haven't watched season 4. I
Oh,
got the
okay.
first 2 episodes, and then as soon as the dude in the third one with like the shitty mustache and the lifeguard with the shitty mustache, uh, that plot line lost me.
Oh, the like the weird guy with the mullet who was
Hmm.
like trying to pick up the mom.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So in season 4, I'm just gonna explain it to you because you haven't seen it. In season
This is
4,
good though because I actually like coming on here because I feel like I get a dose of stuff that I'm not normally exposed to. Most of this
yeah.
podcast has been you explaining shit to me. It's like the long form version of having a Twitter account right now.
There you go. So in season 4, they go to a roller rink and they're like the kids are in high school now and there's some kids bullying Elle and they're videotaping her while they bully her, which is a terrible idea because you're just making evidence. It's just like these fucking daycare workers. Like, why are you taping this? But anyways, they're taping it with like a VCR held handheld video recorder, and then it shows through like it shows the viewfinder, and the date is March 22nd. And I was like, hey, that's my kid's due date. That's cool. What a weird coincidence. And then Isaac Weishaupt, who's the host of the Occult and Symbolism in Popular Culture, he's like, "This is a bones skull and bones message because on the skull and bones logo they have 322 underneath the picture of the skull and the crossbone, and that's a reference to Genesis 322. Because here I'll read you. I'm actually
Oh,
just gonna go find. I'll
this
open up BibleGate.com. It's one of my most, or Bible Gateway. It's one of my most viewed websites. What were you gonna say?
I was saying it's so perfect that your
Yeah,
kid's birthday is a in it. It's the greatest gift they could give a conspiracy enthusiast.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
Genesis 322. Do you know what the skull and bones is? I kind
No.
of glanced over that. So Yale,
Oh wait. Yeah. The secret society.
yeah, Yale has a secret society where some of the students join in. It's called the Skull and Bones, and both of the Bushes are in it. And there's that movie, The Bones. I think it was called Skull and Bones, and it was about it. So Genesis 322, And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So this is in reference right after Adam ate from the apple of the tree of knowledge, and he learned the secrets of the universe by learning the
That he was
that good and evil existed. And God was like, we can't let them eat from the tree of life, otherwise they'll live forever. So that's why he kicked them out of Garden of Eden. Because I didn't know this when I was a kid growing up in the church, but there was more than one tree in the Garden of Eden, and one was the tree of knowledge, which is the one that they ate. And then there was the tree of life, which was guarded by a angel with a fucking flaming sword or some weird shit. Why didn't they tell us the good shit when we were kids?
that sounds amazing.
Like, if they
That
told us about angels with flaming swords and shit, I'd probably still be into religion.
there's gotta be some of that in Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I'm following all this,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
what is the like? What's the end state of this? What's the end state of the conspiracy? It's at the end of the day, does it mean that your child is going to live forever, or
No, the end of the day, it means since I have reproduced and had a progeny and my genes will live forever, I have become immortal and I have become a god
yeah? I
because
like
I had
that.
a baby.
Also, is there anything to the fact that the birthday would then be palindrome, right? Because isn't it going to be 32223?
Oh, it is. Damn, I never even thought of that.
I think that
Yeah.
extra power to it.
Damn. Well, it wouldn't really be a palindrome because it would be like two zero
Don't
two
don't
three
correct it. Don't correct
two.
it.
Okay, it's a palindrome. You're right. That's crazy. Super powerful. Andrea is so sick of me telling everybody about this story. Like I honestly told someone this story already today, and she's like, "I'm sick of hearing about this." But it's like your kid's usually never really born on its due date anyway,
This one
so
will. This one will.
maybe you won't even have to worry about this. Oh, but if you're asking why do the Skull and Bones have 322 on their logo, their
Yeah.
crest, it's because it's an occult secret society and their whole goal is to find life everlasting, or I just forgot the word of that. I don't know. Where you live forever. What's the word for that? I just had a brain fart. What?
Immortality.
Yeah, that.
Right.
So it's like their pledge to live as long as possible or whatever. I don't know. He explains it in the podcast, and then I was just like so blown away. I didn't really catch all of
Yeah, you've lost me. I'm just excited at being the first person to sing Celine Dion on your podcast.
it. I'm surprised you know words of Celine Dion.
You know words of Celine Dion. Come on.
Well, that's true.
Um,
Very true.
no, I know that song because it was I had to perform it at
Oh, really?
grad 2000. It was a sore point for me because Daryl Brooks and I had written a song. There was like a grad song competition, and we'd written a
Mhm.
song. We hadn't really got to the point of like getting a band together to play it and everything, and so we just like plunked it down on the piano and played it. And then the trio of really good singers, three ladies came in and they'd like prepared everything and they had it for the Celine Dion song and they sang it. It was really good. Actually, it was a much better song than the one I wrote, obviously.
It's
So
wild to think that you guys wrote your own grad song, because when I was graduating from high school, I fucking didn't do anything. I was just like, sure, I'll leave. I'll go get a job. And you guys are like, we're writing music.
you dyed your hair and listened to Prodigy, so
That's true. I did do
uh,
that.
did do that. Pretty much the same thing.
Hey, I have a musical question. This
Mhm.
isn't really about outrage in the world, but it's just something I saw today that I knew you were coming on, so I wanted to ask you about it. If I say the piano chord C69, does that mean anything to you?
Was it 6-9 or 2-9?
69, C69, or is it 2 not 269?
It was 2-9.
Let me see. Because apparently there's a piano chord that if you play, you won't have nightmares because it'll give you nice dreams.
I think that that is really special. Um,
Yeah, C
I
six
don't.
nine piano chord.
So I would have understood like C1, 2, 3. That usually has to do with like the like how you can make a
Oh,
certain
okay.
amount of C chords on the piano based on the one is closest to the lowest
Yeah.
part of the register. But I don't know what 2/9 would be unless that means that they're
6/9. Oh, I think it's 6/9. So maybe it's playing the two, like C at
oh
6 and C
C
at
six
9 at the
slash
same
nine.
time. Yeah.
No, no, that would typically mean that it's actually the so scale. It's like do re mi fa sol la ti do, right? So there's 8 notes. If you have a regular major chord, it's like the first, third, and fifth notes of that scale. If
Hmm.
you have say you play a sixth chord, it means that you've added in the sixth note of the scale. Uh,
Okay.
it's the yeah, I mean, you're really testing my music theory. It's been 20 something years, but so a 6/9 would be you're putting the six and then you're putting the two in, but you're putting they say nine because you're putting the higher octave of it. So like if you started at one and that's the C, that's the root of the scale
Yeah.
two tech, and then you basically went like from there C D F all the way up to the next C,
Yeah.
right? That's a full octave.
Hmm.
It's down here and one's an octave higher. And if you put the D that comes right after that, right, that
Hmm.
higher C, if you played it with the low C, you would call it the nine because it's 9 steps away from that. Nine
Oh.
scale points away from that first one. So if it was a C6/9, then they'd probably have the six and the nine in the chord, which
Okay.
would make it a nice, pretty chord.
Yeah, because they're saying like it's like if you listen to this while you're asleep in REM sleep, it'll stop you from having nightmares and you'll actually have nice sleep.
Nice.
So
you know what? I want to actually have like I don't know if I know anybody who has crazy nightmares all the time. I want to find out who that person is, then I want to try this out and see if this is a true thing because it sounds like
mm,
a miracle cure and also a really happy.
yeah.
That all you have to do is it's like play it every 10 seconds. Was that the thing? Like while they're sleeping?
Yeah, you play it every 10 seconds
Yeah.
and then yeah. But would it be more scary to have someone playing the piano in your room if you woke up?
Well, I think it depended on what you're playing though, right? Because so there are for years since the dawn of time, I guess, but with the Western scale anyway, the scale that we know, for years there's been lots of knowledge about how there is very distinct, like not just emotional but also physical reaction to playing certain notes. Like there's the most famous one is the tritone, which is like two places where everybody knows it. One is The Simpsons, and that's one that resolves itself. So it goes like The Simpsons. And if
Hmm.
you think of those three notes, you basically had the first two notes are the tritone, and it used to be referred to in medieval times as like the treble, the devil's interval, because it's
Yeah.
so painful. And when you get to that second one, for whatever reason, we all just go freaking insane and crazy until you resolve it. It's called move it to the fifth, to the five, which is like the most perfect tone. Um,
Okay.
the the place where we also all know that it's used, that tritone, is with like European ambulances or like old school ambulances. So they go like because it's the most obnoxious two notes you can play one after the other. So it puts
Okay.
everybody on edge. Like you physically get on edge when you hear it, which
Yeah.
is so then everybody pays attention to it for the ambulance. And it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all science. It just has to do with the sound waves. Like the one and the five are like the five is the halfway point of the sound wave for the one. So that's they all replicate
Okay.
each other really nice and they resonate nicely and all those sorts of things. But
So when
anyway,
you were saying, sorry, I want to interrupt a sec. So when you were saying like you go C to C, that's 1 to 8, and then 9 of this two devil. Let's what is it called? The Devil's Triad. What
yeah.
are the two differences? It's like you starting at C. What's the Devil's Triad of that?
So in a C it would be a F sharp. It's the sharp four. So if you go to the four of the scale and then
Yeah.
you sharp that, so make it a little bit higher, um, and you
Wait,
make it really
wouldn't that
painful.
be the fifth, or do the sharps not count as a
Oh,
step?
dude, how much time you got? So No, it wouldn't be the fifth. So there's tones and semitones in music. Semitone
Yeah.
is, and that's Western music. Eastern music gets into quarter tones. But basically, like the semitone is like the distance between any two keys on the piano, like a white key and a black key. Like if there's a
Hmm.
black key, it's go white key to black key, and then that would be a semitone. And a
Yeah.
tone is two of those. So like you would basically, an example on a C scale is like you go C to C sharp is a semitone, C to D is a tone. And a
Okay.
major scale goes like tone, 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 semitone, tone, tone, semitone. So there's a point in time where I just said that wrong.
Nobody will know.
Semitone, tone, tone, tone. Yeah. So there's a point if you basically did tritone, which is three tones in a row, you end up with a sharp four instead of a natural four, which is the one that sounds nice to us. Because again, it's I think a
Hmm.
four is just is when you take this sound wave of one and divide it by three, you get the four. Yeah, fuck it. The point of the
Okay.
story is that you could make a really pleasant sounding tone that would make
Hmm.
everybody feel very at ease by playing.
Nice. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, I feel like people used to use, like, one of the theories about the pyramid, you're gonna love this, was they think they used to have these things called sound shamans. It's just like a working theory someone came up with. And it was like in the pyramid, there was like each different little like chamber resonates differently, either like just through the tones of the earth or whatever, like the background resonance of the earth would go through the stone, and if you hollowed out like a chamber in a certain way, there'd be a certain resonance in there. And they're saying it was for like there's healing chambers and shit, like you'd go in there and it would heal you just like the vibrations or whatever. And they would take like they did this experiment, like now they went to a pyramid and the healing chamber, they took like bean seeds, and the like typical germination of a bean seed, I don't know what it is, so I'm just going to give you like an example. So it'd be like 50% of these seeds would actually grow into beans, and then they put them in this chamber, and then it was like 90% of them did it. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Did you intend to stop recording?
No, I think my computer ran out of space.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to have to slice on the last half of this from the Facebook feed.
Sweet.
So if you're listening to this, I'm sorry for that awkward transition during my dope ass sound shaman speech. But yeah, so they're also saying that one of the ways that they moved the pyramid blocks was they hooked up some sort of apparatus to it, like think of like a tuning fork or something,
Yeah.
and then made a noise. And then the thing that was attached to the stone would vibrate it, and then you could move it along the ground and shit.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I
that's like one working
So
theory.
these are some things that you could start getting me to bite on some conspiracy theory stories if you start going down this road.
I don't really
You know,
count those as conspiracy theories though, because it's not two people conspiring. It's just
you're
like
right.
secret history, which is fucking, oh my God.
Or like belief in an alternative medicine that's based on sound waves.
Yeah.
But I think that yeah, it's one that I could see there being a lot of opportunity for deeper study into that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's part of like the witchcraft and voodoo of listening to analog music, right? It's the belief that the sound wave is interacting with you in a physical way as well as
Yeah. And
through.
it's weird because it's like when you listen to music, it does affect you and changes you. Like you listen to a song you like, and you're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
Or you listen to country and you want to just fucking burn down your
universal
house.
language, man. Everybody gets. Country is
Yeah.
like it's storytelling. Like I think Malcolm Gladwell did a podcast about episode about this, or maybe a couple. But I
Yeah.
think it explained anyway. He summarized it really well for people that aren't country fans. But
Mhm.
it is sort of out of all the music genres, it's probably one of the better ones. Apart from like medieval balladeers, it's probably one of the better ones at
Oh yeah.
conveying the story.
Andrea just came out and she pointed at our
Yeah.
Tibetan singing bowls, which is
Mm.
actually, because I should have thought of this when you're talking about healing through music.
Right.
There's actually a bunch of hippies who like play these and then hold them over your body, and then they're supposed to like heal you.
Hmm.
Do you want me to?
I want
Do
you
you
to
want
play
me to
it.
play this?
Yeah, I want you to heal something.
Okay. Yeah, Tibetans actually do it and they believe it. Do you want me to play it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready for it.
Can you hear it through my mic?
Yeah. I could hear a little bit of it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was fun watching you do the action
I'm so good at it. It's
though.
fun. It's one of those things that like it's one of those totally dumb things that I have like this secret pride in. Like whenever I go into a hippie shop, I've always like pick up a bowl and I'm like, and I'm like, I always want people to be like impressed at how well I can do it and how I can always make them play. Cause like somebody will be in there and they're like, oh, I can't do it, man. And I'll be like, watch this. And I'm just like so proud of my Tibetan singing bowl ability, but nobody gives a fuck at all.
There's gotta be an element of like meditative impact that comes from that, I'm sure.
Or that I have such a strong energy inside me
Yeah,
and I have superpowers and that's why I can play them so good.
could be that. Have you tried playing the like the wine glasses with different type amounts of water in them?
Oh yeah, with your fingers and stuff. Yeah, no, I can't afford crystal glasses, Sean. Thanks for bringing. No, doesn't that only work if it's made out of crystal?
I don't think so.
Oh
I think I don't. Who knows? Maybe it's just more pure if it's crystal. I feel like you could just pull up the glass, but
yeah,
let's
no,
talk
but like you
next time
see
we're
those
around.
videos of people like playing songs. It's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
nuts.
they're badass. I
Yeah.
was actually, I think Ben Franklin, one of his first instruments, one of his first, probably one of the few instruments he invented. One of his inventions was this, is like a glass tube. It was sort of based on the same theory, right? It was like a glass
Mm-hmm.
tube that would spin like a lathe, and you'd like hold it at different points. And I think it went through a basin of water underneath. I can't remember what the hell it was called.
Oh yeah, to make it wet. That's dope.
And you like play it at different points. I only know about this because it was one of the things you had to find in Assassin's Creed 3. But
Oh, it's funny, like when video games passively teach you about shit like that.
yeah.
Like you'll remember that forever, and you'll
Yeah.
just remember
Well,
this thing Benjamin
obviously I don't
Franklin
remember
made.
all the details, but I remember
Yeah.
that it exists because I took so freaking long to find it. Yeah, that's all.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think we're
Yeah.
getting
Are you
to
there? Oh wait, there's one thing we have to talk about.
yeah.
It's a very important thing that's happening in the world tonight right now. Fish are eating human poop and getting addicted to meth.
Oh yes, I love this story.
And I'm not even joking. And this is my favorite story that I've ever read. And there's nothing else to it. It's just people are doing meth and then they're shitting and then their sewage is going where fish are and fish are eating this poop and getting addicted to methamphetamine.
Well, yeah, there is more to it because I think that the conclusion that one scientist came to in that story was that the fish will stop being interested in other pleasure, like traditional pleasure producing activities, like reproducing and eating normal food. And so there was a theory that
Oh,
there might be a major ecological impact of the fact that these fish are only like it said that they all like went right up to the wastewater plant, uh like all the fish were congregating there so they could eat all the
yeah.
meth shit.
Oh, yeah.
They were worried that they were just gonna ultimately this population would die off because they were spending too much time getting high and not enough time having sex. And I feel like people who've had sex on meth do say that it can be challenging to get to the point of climax. So
That's true. Yeah. You can't really shoot your milt all over those eggs if you're fucking
yeah,
high on meth. But
I love the idea in a terrible way, but just like I love the idea of fish being, or more so the fact that like I found it really strange. Like one of the things that was really strange of this is they were like, yeah, no, we found particularly high concentrations of this, and where it was in Czechia and Slovakia or something. I think it was those were the two countries where this
oh yeah, Czech and
fishing,
Slovak.
they had particularly high levels of um, methamphetamines, and that for me opened up a whole new story I want to research now. Just
Like, do these have just bad sewer management? our treatment plants, or is the population of
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia and Slovakia high on meth?
Yes, this was it. Is it like did they because they I think the population of Czech used to be or still are the world's biggest beer consuming
Oh
nation
yeah,
by a big margin too. Because I remember
because
looking at it thinking like I'm expecting this to be Belgium or Germany,
mm-hmm.
maybe like England will throw me for a loop there. Uh, but I did not expect that the Czechs were
Didn't
going to by a large
Czech
margin.
invent Pilsner?
They did, I think.
Oh, see,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Or
I
did
think you should do some research on this.
I won't. But that was
Go
the question
deep,
that this article created for me. I
deep
want to
down
know
the fish
why.
meth rabbit hole.
Why is this where fish are getting addicted to meth? Why not everywhere else? And why is
Yeah,
that the only thing they're addicted to? Anyway,
yeah,
could spell disaster.
it could.
But I think before it spells disaster, I want it to become an Adult Swim cartoon.
Ooh, that'd be good. Yeah, like Aqua Meth Hunger Force.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. Perfect.
Well, you're not on social media, so you don't have to tell anybody where you
Nope.
are. Yeah, Sean Burke. Catch him on here. That's the only place on the entire internet you're
I
gonna catch him.
basically I'm just here to try and drive away your few viewers. Uh,
It's fine. I love having non-social media people and like talking to them because it's like, what's it like?
wait, are there more of us? Here's the problem: is that
Yeah.
we don't know that each other exists because we're not on any sort of a group media to discuss.
There's literally no way for you to talk to each other unless you randomly meet in the wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hey man, I enjoy being on here.
Oh, thanks, man. It's good. I love just like talking to people for like an hour and a half because they're like a captive audience. Like, and when I start talking about conspiracy theories, they're like, all right, I get like more leeway with what you're willing to listen to because you can't just leave.
I think I've
Um,
got lots I'd be willing to listen to. Tomorrow when we're watching dogs achieve their dreams,
yeah,
you can tell me more.
Super Dogs.
Right.
Going to Super Dogs tomorrow, and I can't remember where. If you're in the Vancouver area and you want to go see Super Dogs, check out the pet show thing. I don't know what it's called, but Super Dogs are tomorrow. We're
They're
gonna go
not paying
see.
you money. You don't need to advertise it
Yeah.
properly.
Dude, could you imagine if Super Dogs were our sponsor? That'd be the greatest thing ever.
Would be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I agree.
The funny thing was somebody's like, "Well, you've been doing the podcast a couple of years. You guys got any sponsors?" It's like, no. I probably should look into how to do that or what to do, but I don't know. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
then you got to worry about your sponsors censoring what you say and
yeah, they probably wouldn't want us talking about fucking fish eating poop and getting addicted to meth.
right.
Yeah, whatever. It's all for funsies.
Yeah.
So you can find us on Twitter. You can find me, Super Dalebot. You can find the podcast at Outrage Fact Pod. Send us some feedback to outragefactpod@gmail. Um, like and subscribe, leave us a comment or leave us a review if you want. You can comment. We have a Facebook page, or you can go to the YouTube and just comment under whatever video you're listening to. And I don't know if you can comment or anything on, but you can review us on like whatever podcatcher you're using. So yeah, and that's it, I guess. All right. Until next time,
Thank
stay
you.
angry.